All right. Well, greetings, everybody. Welcome once again to the Rec Poker Podcast. As always, our official sponsor is Running Aces Racetrack, Casino, and Hotel. And our other sponsors are Learn Pro Poker and website AMP. In this chats edition of the podcast, we're going to hang out once again with Jonathan Little. You all know who he is. He's a professional player, poker coach, author, and a bunch of other stuff too. But first, let's introduce our panel. My name is Steve Fredland. I go by Rec Poker Steve in our PokerStars home game. And Steve Badger once said, going on tilt is not mixing up your play. Jim.
My name is Jim Reed. I'm Bluff Storini in the home games and at Hold'em_Steelers, my two great loves on Twitter. And if you're not considering game selection, you are not taking poker seriously.
Nice. And we're excited. We're joined by a guest panelist this week. We're recording during the midday, which means some of our panel can't be here, but Jamel Cuevas has jumped on here. Jamel, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jamel Cuevas. I go by Jamel on the forums and Fortune NY in our home games, and happy to be here today.
And a beast of a player. Well, before we jump in, just real quick, our nightly home games continue to grow. It's been super fun. And if you want to join the club after November 1st, you actually need to make sure that you have a free membership at rec.poker and that you have your PokerStars username out there. That's the only way we're going to let new people in. So free membership, but just make sure that you're registered out there. So with that, let's bring him in. Jonathan Little. How we doing, young man?
Hello, I'm Jonathan Little. If you're a fish, get better at poker. Everybody has something fun they say at the end, you know?
How do you know you're a fish?
Ooh, good
That's
question.
the tough thing. If you're always losing, you're probably a fish.
Look at this guy. He's just so logically sound. How do you know that you're not good at the game? You're always losing. That seems to make a lot of sense to me.
Think of the logic here. It's just very, very reasonable, right?
It is reasonable. Well, hey, the last time we had you on, I think it was about a year ago, which this year feels like it's about a decade ago.
Yeah.
Right? So why don't we start just a little bit, catch us up a little bit on the life of Jonathan Little over the past year, kind of what are some of the major things going on?
Oh, man. It's been a wild year. I'm ready for it to be over, so hopefully it'll be over soon. And what have I been up to? Just grinding it out, really. I have a training site, pokercoaching.com. We've added a lot there. We have like GTO charts in our app. They're just available for everyone. Make sure you get the Poker Coaching app. We've hired a bunch of new coaches. I wrote a book, Excelling at Tough No Limit Hold'em Games. Oh, look, there you go.
Yeah.
It's like a book club here. This book came out. I actually just recorded the audiobook version of it a few days ago, and that was good. I sat in a little cubicle for about 32 hours reading a book. So, it's good. And I'm glad to have that off my plate. So, we're grinding it out and making things happen. I have a big tournament course coming out on pokercoaching.com at the end of November. So that's taken me much longer than I thought it would. It's like 1,500 slides long. So it's a real course.
Yes, that is a real course. Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was going to take like a month, and it's ended up taking about a year. So we're finally almost finished. So I'm glad to have that pretty much off my plate. I had a few big projects to get done. It was this book, that tournament course, and another book that I have coming out next year. And we're almost finished. So that's good.
Do you want to tease that book for next year, or is it too early?
It's too early.
We're always looking for the inside scoop here. We want to be the ones that bust the news on what's going on.
It's going to go very well with my tournament course at Poker Coaching. So it's
okay,
very in-depth guide on tournament poker.
Will it be excelling at anything? Will there be more excelling going on?
So the Excelling book series has all of these other authors involved. I don't know if people can see this video. I'm sure some people are listening.
Some can, yep.
And there are a bunch of other collaborators for these books. I mean, I realized a long time ago that if I am not talking with and collaborating with the best people in the game, I'm probably going to get behind because I'm just one guy sitting here by myself. I mean, look, you all collaborate. You all get better together.
You bet.
And I'm very fortunate that some of the best poker players in the world are happy to work with me, either because they learned poker from me back in the day or because we, own businesses together. Like all of these coaches here are part of the Poker backing group. And I advise for them. A lot of these players are either players or coaches for them. And we're all working together, right? And we want to try to better ourselves and our communities. And I've been very fortunate with that. So I don't currently have any other excelling project. There's two excelling books at the moment, Excelling at No Limit Hold'em and Excelling at Tough No Limit Hold'em Games. All these books I collaborated with other people in the poker community. Every time I finish a book, I tell myself I'm like never writing a book again. I'm done with this. And then like a month later, there's some other book project happening. So I have no other book projects on my plate. and I don't foresee any happening in the near future, but I'll probably be working on something again next month.
So what is it about the book writing that's appealing? So obviously you've got the coaching that you do personally, you've got the coaching site, you got the playing, you got a million things that you are doing and that you could be doing. And so you write a book and then you say, never again, but then you do another one. What is it about it that sort of draws you back?
Well, I must be a degenerate. That's why I keep doing it, right?
Addiction comes in many forms.
In reality, it's not all that hard for me to write a book for the most part. I mean, this Excelling at Tough No Limit Hold'em Games was basically me talking to these players, writing down their thoughts, putting them in a good, concise format, and making it pretty. So this was more of, I'm not going to say an editing job, but it was kind of an editing job to some extent. I mean, I probably wrote 50 pages out of the 400, and the other people did the hard work on the rest of it. So I think I probably do this editing type job better than basically anyone in the poker community, and therefore it's easy enough for me to do. It's not like hard, strenuous work. It's grindy. Yeah. But I don't mind it. I like it. And if you're good at something and other people are not, and it's not like overly strenuous for you, you might as well do it, especially if you know it's going to help out a lot of other people. And like, this was a good project because it gets the Pokar Backing Company's name out there on a book in front of every good poker player, because this is a high level poker book. It helps all these other coaches because some of them are coaches. They, have private students, they have poker training sites, etc. So it markets them, helps me. One more thing, I get to collaborate with all these great players and learn a ton, and it helps all the students. So it's just like a win-win-win. And whenever you can make everyone win, even if it's kind of grindy, you don't necessarily even want to be doing it, although I like doing it. Even if I didn't want to do it, I would still do it because it helps so many people in just like one swoop.
I can't turn down a segue like that, because that's exactly how we do things at Rec Poker. Like, nobody's good at everything, so we all have things that we're good at, and that's the stuff that we do more of. Like, for one of the things that I'm good at, and I can tell it's a skill of yours, is synthesizing existing information, breaking it down into the relevant pieces that someone else would need to understand, and then making it so. And I can tell, because I loved this book, and there's a lot of very different types of concepts in here. People have done a lot of work in the lab, putting through solvers and equity calculators and stuff like that. So I think it's great that what we have is this raw information from all these specialists, and then that's been sort of synthesized and broken down into a series of little steps that'll help your standard recreational player. Can you just talk a little bit about what that process is like for you, and what it's like to sort of get into the mind of the students that are looking for this information?
Well, you have to ask, first things first, is this the right book for very recreational players? No, we're on the Rec Poker podcast here. But if you are not a very good poker player right now, I would probably not recommend this book to you because it's actually kind of high level. I have another book called Mastering Small Stakes No Limit Hold'em that is more of a guide on how to go from not being good at all to being pretty decent. And that's essentially like the prerequisite I send all of my students to. Go read this book. If you don't understand this book, well, I mean, that's like the base level knowledge you kind of need to have to be reasonable at poker is what it amounts to. So it's important to understand who you are trying to teach. And with the excelling type books, basically I had all of the authors write about whatever they're really good at. And that results in these excelling books being almost like a bunch of little 20-page pamphlets to some extent. And I try to organize them in a linear manner. Like, we first talk about like GTO and like general quick tips to beat the small stakes games, because I realize some players are playing the small stakes games and they want to move up ASAP. So there's a few chapters devoting to things like that. And then we just get right into the advanced stuff because this is supposed to be an advanced book. It's certainly not for everyone. If you're not taking poker seriously, it's probably not for you. But if you are taking poker seriously, I think it's a very, very good book. I mean, this is how I go about learning poker. It's almost like watching a bunch of high-level training videos to some extent by people who are great at poker. And that was the goal for it. And I realized that to some extent, it could just be a bunch of training videos to some extent. It could be a bunch of training videos, and it's almost like a training site for people who perhaps don't like training sites or don't like watching videos. And I understand people learn in all sorts of ways. Some people want audiobooks, some people want PDFs, some people want paper book, right? So I try to give the students whatever they need. And like, whenever anyone's on my training site at pokercoaching.com, they can just send me an email and let me know their scenario, and I'll direct them to the right piece of content, whatever that is. As long as they give me, a paragraph about where they are and what they're trying to accomplish, I can usually get them to something that'll be very, very high impact. And that's the tough thing with poker education in general. If you don't have a private coach is that you have to find the thing that is right for you. And back in the day, that was like impossible because there was not much to begin with, and what was out was not all that great. But today there really is a lot of great poker educational content available. It's just a matter of finding the right thing for you at the right time, presented to you in a way that resonates with you.
Yeah, I love that so much. And one of the things that people keep telling us is, man, Jonathan Littley's so accessible. Like, people, I think, don't realize when they have a pro like you who's running a site and is accessible, they think, well, I'm not going to send them a note. I'm not going to send them an email. No, do that. You belong to the site. That's what you're paying for. And Jonathan's accessible. And I think that's one of the great things. And I'm, first of all, a little tangent. I'm a little taken aback because Jim said the word process. Now, that might be the first time he ever said process and not process. So he might be hiding for you that he's Canadian. I don't know. I was like shook when you said process. I didn't even know what to do with that.
I'm trying to pass. I'm passing as American this week.
That was very.
You're
very,
a Steelers fan and everything.
I know. He's all messed up.
Yes.
All
See,
messed
John knows what's going on. This guy knows.
It's a good bluff. I mean, I would have believed it.
Well, his nickname is Bluff Sterini, so there you go. But one of the things, kind of along those lines of being accessible is, I hear you say this a lot, like, I just want to help the most amount of people. You've said it here, you've said it before, and I kind of want to dig into that. Why is that so important to you? Obviously, you're a very well accomplished player. You're very well accomplished coach, author, whatever. You don't need to be worrying about helping people, right? I mean, obviously you're running a business, you want to make a buck, but that could be your focus, and a lot of people do that. But I keep hearing you come back to, I just want to help more people. And I'm curious, either that's marketing, branding genius, or that's part of who you are, or maybe both. But, internally, why does it matter to you that that's part of your legacy, that you've actually helped people either improve the game or become connected to a community?
I've never really considered this exact question. I just show up and do the work to some extent, because I like showing up and doing the work. And if you're going to do the work, you might as well help as many people with the work at the same time. I mean, whenever you are a poker player, either you can essentially hoard information, as most pros do, as makes logical sense to a lot of people because they think you're competing against everyone else, or you can share the knowledge and find other like-minded people who want to get good together, and then you all just like build on top of each other's knowledge. And I've had success with that, and it makes logical sense to me given the way I have gotten good at poker. It's not by me being great at poker. I've gotten good at poker because people were willing to help me. And I realized that we live in an internet world where things scale very easily. Like back in the day, if someone wanted to listen to this conversation, we'd have to record it. We'd all have to get in the same place to begin with, right?
Right.
And then we'd make VCR tapes and mail those to people. They have to buy a VCR, they have to buy a TV, like all sorts of things they'd have to do. Whereas now they just need a phone and they're good to go, right?
Crazy, yeah.
And it seems like it would be illogical to not try to help as many people as possible. Given I'm trying to help at least some number of people, you might as well help a lot if they want to learn and they're willing to learn, right?
Well, and maybe that's the beauty of what it is. Maybe you don't see it because you're too close to it, but as somebody who's a consumer of information, works with a lot of recreational players who are trying to get information from people, not everybody gives that same sort of perspective. It's having you say, I want to help you, it's sort of a unique perspective. So maybe you're not aware of it. And I just want to say I appreciate that on behalf of the rec players, because it makes logic sense to you, but it's not everywhere. It's not as pervasive as maybe you think it is.
Sure. And I mean, I think I've been spoiled in that people are always just willing to help me for some reason in all aspects of life. And maybe that's because I show that I'm trying my best, right? I don't know why people want to help me, but it seems like doors just kind of open. Like with this book, right? This is like half of the Poker coaches. I sent them an email, hey, I want to write this book. Who wants to be in? And got a bunch of people back saying, hey, I'm in.
Well, it's very symbiotic, right? You've been able to garner a pretty good platform, so it works well. That they're linked with you, and you're a good, positive public figure. So it's not a risk for them to be associated with you. So I think it does sort of create this mutually beneficial back and forth.
Yeah, and the thing is, at the end of the day, if you help a bunch of people, they're going to want to help you in some way. I mean, now anytime I have a problem with my business, I'll just post on Twitter, hey, I'm having a problem with, database analytics. Next thing you know, we got an email, right? And you have a problem with anything, whatever I have a problem with, like overlays for Twitch or YouTube strategy, whatever, we'll get a good candidate just immediately because I've helped so many people. And it turns out if people like you in general, a lot of doors will open. And if people don't like you, a lot of doors will close. So would you rather have open doors or, everybody not liking you?
So some people haven't put together those logical sequences yet. If you ever need help with business coaching, that's what we do. So I'm happy to help you with that too. But good stuff. Let me switch gears a little bit before it just becomes a big Jonathan Little love fest here. But talking about just all the projects that you have going on. So you've got you've got the coaching stuff, you've got the course going on, you've got the book writing, all this big stuff. So as we talk about kind of what's been going on the last year, obviously COVID is a front and center headline sort of situation. Is that, in a weird sort of sense, does that come at a good time to allow you to do some of these projects, or is that not really slowing down some of the other things you were involved with, like playing and coaching and things?
I don't think it's really slowing me down all that much. I still play a decent amount of poker on Sundays primarily. I'll just devote a solid online day on Sundays because that's the most high value. And what I was doing before COVID is I would usually travel to play a live tournament series for about 1 week per month. And I would be home for about 3 weeks per month. I have 2 kids. I want to be home with the kids. My wife would like me to be home with the kids. So again, it makes logical sense. Make your wife and your children happy if you can, and still play poker if you can, and still have a job if you can. And I made my own job at my training site. So not a lot has changed. If anything, I've had a little bit more free time. I would say that I'm probably slightly less productive than normal because the kids are home all day and my wife's working from home, and there's just more distractions across the board. But really what it amounts to, instead of traveling 1 week a month, I'm not traveling 1 week a month, and not a whole lot's changed. Before COVID, though, I actually was not playing online on Sundays at all. So it's almost like I've lost a day per week instead of a week per month.
Yeah.
So it's spread out a little bit more, but it really hasn't changed my workflow much at all, really. Because, my business is purely remote anyway. All of my employees are not where I am. And that was a pretty easy transition.
So what's your perspective on playing live? Either it's, your perspective personally on when and if when you'll actually go back, or what's your perspective on when poker will open up enough to be able to, kind of have this be vibrant again?
Well, I'm not a virologist or an event planner, so I don't know for sure. But
you're generally not? I thought you were also a virologist.
No, I haven't got
I got to look at my notes again. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
No, my bad.
So I'm certainly not an expert in these things, but I would have to presume that we're not going to be playing any giant live poker tournaments anytime soon, just because the way live poker tournaments work are kind of like live concerts or live indoor sporting events to some extent, except for instead of being, surrounding an area, you're all sitting in the middle of the area together. And so, people are playing in casinos now, right?
Yeah.
So, they're playing small and medium field tournaments at this point, and I don't know anything about if people are getting sick or whatnot. It's lots of people are getting sick, so maybe they don't care anymore. But I don't plan on going to play live poker in any major tournament anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, I'm kind of lucky in that I don't need to, right? Because we've helped so many people throughout the years. I can sit at home and teach people and help people and not have to worry about paying the bills.
Yeah.
Look, it's paying off right now, right?
Yeah.
And that's because I put in the time in the past to develop essentially a business by helping people get good at poker.
Yeah. I have a question on the shift to playing online. So one of the things I've noticed is I used to play live for years. You can really focus on your opponents, really focus on one table at a time. When you made the switch to online where you play on Sundays now, how many tables are you playing, and are there any adjustments that you're making there?
So I have played online a lot in the past. I started playing online when I was 18. Now I'm 35 or something. And I always played a ton of tables. I came from playing sit and goes back in the day where you had 16 table, no problem. Just that's what you did. You put in a lot of volume. So, I was streaming for a while and I would just be sitting there 16 tabling all day for 12 hours. And at the end of the day, I recognize that volume cures variance to some extent. If you put in a lot of volume, you will get the results that you should get. And it's funny, I would be talking to my friends, they're like, every week you final table a big tournament. How does it happen? Well, I played 40 tournaments, And so if they play 7 and I play 40, I just had pretty consistent straight up results in tournaments, but that's because I was putting in so much volume in a short period of time. And it's a skill you have to learn. So if you have to ask first off, why am I playing online? Is the purpose to make as much money as possible, or is the purpose to get as good at poker as possible? And if the question is if the purpose is to get as good at poker as you can, you really shouldn't be trying to play a lot of tables. You should be trying to play some though. You probably don't want to sit there and just play one because not a whole lot happens at one table. And when you're focusing on live poker, you're not just focusing on specifically the cards and the betting, you're also focusing on mannerisms and tells and live flow dynamics and all of that, which really don't exist online to some extent. So I would tell you to try to play on a site that allows you to use a heads-up display if you can to get very clear information about your opponents to the best of your ability. If you can't, that's fine too. Just recognize you won't be able to play as many tables. But I don't know, ask more questions. I'm happy to answer them. Essentially, you need to practice is what it amounts to. You want to get good at multi-tabling, You got to practice. So if you normally play one table, you have a hard time playing two, you need to move down to tiny stakes, like $1 buy-in tournaments or whatever, and spend a day playing 4 tables at a time. It's going to be hard. It's going to be rough. You may be timing out, but if you do that for a day or two, after a while, you'll be able to go back to 2, no problem. 2 will be like a joke. It'll be so easy. And then you can play your normal games, playing 2 at a time. And then you can continue practicing that, where you play more and more and more, and eventually you'll get to where you can play a whole lot. But essentially, you have to recognize when you play a lot of tables, I'm not trying to necessarily play at the high, I'm not trying to extract the most EV from this particular table. I'm giving up some EV at this table in exchange for playing many, many more tables. And that'll lead to like lower return on investments, lower big blind per 100 win rates, but that's fine if you're multiplying it by 2, 4, 8, 16, right?
Mm-hmm. And that
I'm happy to help with this.
And typically that's like a tighter range game you're playing, where you're playing more discipline because you're on these tables, so it's fewer hands per table. Okay, all right.
In theory.
I mean, I've been again, it goes back to experience, right? Like where I have a lot of experience playing a lot of tables, and I purposely try to not play tighter than normal or anything like that, because I can sit there and play 6 games at the same time with hands in each game. Like it's not a problem for me, because I've been doing it for 15 years or 20 years or whatever it is at this point, right? I have an immense amount of experience compared to like almost everyone, especially, Americans who are playing online for the very first time, right? They have literally no experience. When I first started playing sit and goes back in the day, it was a big deal to play 4 tables at a time. Just like to someone who plays 1 table at a time, it's a big deal to play 4 tables. So you have to get experience. That's really what it amounts to. I mean, I've just had a ton of experience, and like back when I played sit and goes, I knew if you want to make a lot of money at this, you just need to put in the volume. And same thing with tournaments. There's just a whole lot more variance in tournaments. So I don't adjust my strategy and play tighter or anything like that, because I don't have a problem with timing out. If you have a problem timing out, it means in my mind you're playing too many tables, not you need to use a different strategy, because you don't want to use a bad strategy. Like the strategy I'm utilizing will just result in me not having good post-flop reads. So I'm playing a more fundamentally sound strategy, but that still means follow GTO pre-flop charts and adjust accordingly. But that's not tight. GTO charts don't mean play tight. They mean play good and then play good post-flop is what it amounts to. Play good poker.
So for some of us that don't have the same kind of experience playing good poker, I use Poker Tracker 4. That's my crutch online for sure. 4 is my bread and butter. Are there any other software or resources or that you think are helpful for players playing online?
I think you're breaking up for me, Jim, a little bit. I don't know if you is or anybody else. So
sorry,
maybe that's relevant. But I heard what you said. Basically, do I use any other programs? And no, I don't use any programs. I'm an old man. All I do is just load up Hold'em Manager, and same as Poker Tracker, same thing. And I just grind it out. I don't use any of the programs. There are some programs like, I don't know the names of them, like Table Ninja or something like this. I think that only works for Poker Stars. But some people use multi-tabling programs. I know the Twitch streamers use various things. Whenever I would stream on Twitch, I just like show my whole desktop, and it's a mess. I use this overlap all over the place because I'm not like sweating out the hands. I think that's something a lot of people who don't quite play online so much, they don't understand. Like when I'm playing, all the tables are overlapped. They're all on top of each other. If I get it all in and lose, often I won't even know. And it doesn't matter because I don't care, because I know I'm going to sit there and just put in an immense amount of volume. And I know I'm properly bankrolled for the games. I have data saying I'm a pretty solid winner in the game. So it's just a matter of implementing at that point. And my goal is to put in as much volume as I can so that I win as much money as I can. I'm not necessarily playing to try to get better at poker at this point, because I'm already pretty good at poker, right? Which is why I initially posed the question to everyone out there: are you trying to get good at poker? If so, you want to be paying attention, taking it slow, really focusing on playing well. Like it doesn't take a whole lot of effort for me to focus and play at least reasonably well. I may not play perfectly, but I'm going to play reasonably well. And that's important to recognize. The purpose of me playing all the tables is to just make as much money as I can.
Yeah, I love the idea of knowing your purpose. So we talk about that all the time. Just know why you're playing and then play accordingly. And I'm trying to decide which I enjoyed more. If I enjoyed your smirk. For those of you who are watching the video, Jonathan starts smirking as Jim is saying, so you play more of a tighter, and Jonathan starts smirking about
It's
that.
like, no.
Or if it's a 35-year-old guy saying, I'm an old man. I'm not sure which I enjoyed more, but that was pretty funny.
All the kids have all the programs nowadays. I have no programs. I just click real fast.
I'm an old man. Okay.
I will say, so I have this trackball mouse, right? You see this trackball mouse?
Yes.
You use your thumb on this.
Yeah.
And it'll, at least for me, it's way easier to use that than a mouse where you have to be going like this all day, right? Like that would it'd probably wear you out in theory, but like I'm just moving my thumb real quick and I can easily get around this giant monitor, no problem.
So he does have an extra tool.
Yeah, it's like a tool. I mean, that like maybe that's not a program, but it's a device I use. Like you certainly don't want to be 16 tabling on a laptop with a track or with a pad, right? So like this is easy. I travel with this. I always use it. Just throw it in my backpack and it's wireless and it's great. I bought like 40 of these. I have only 20 left because they die eventually, but they're good.
Well, when you're playing that much. So we're playing, instead of going 1 week a month where we're going somewhere playing live events, we're playing pretty much every Sunday, 16 tables at a time, some crazy thing. So when the time comes where you go back to live poker, like, are you going to be like extremely bored? Like if you've gone a year of not playing live and the only experience you have playing over that past year is 16 tables of online stuff. I mean, is it boring then to go play live poker again?
You're just spending your efforts and resources on different things when you're playing live poker. Like you are focusing on physical tells and whatnot. That's it. Like live poker, it's definitely less engaging than live is less engaging than online, at least for me. However, you get to do other stuff when you play live poker. You get to go and you get to talk to people and meet people, and you know it's a change of pace.
So you enjoy that stuff enough that it's not, because some people that are just online grinders say live is so boring, but I think they're not appreciating the other parts that come with the live as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I certainly wasted a bunch of time as a young idiot kid where I would just like not talk to anybody because I thought I was supposed to not give away anything. If you talk to them, they might learn something about you, but like that's just dumb. You know, make friends, be nice to people, and they'll be nice to you too. So, yeah, try to not squander your opportunities when you go to play live poker. That said, if you don't like playing live poker, don't play live poker. No one says you have to play live poker. No one says you have to play online. Do whatever you want to do. I don't really like or dislike online or live poker all that much compared to the other, and I realize they're different to some extent. I mean, I wish I could play more volume in live poker. That's the big downside of live poker, especially if you play like big field tournaments. Because if you play a tournament with 1,000 people, if you're really good, you're going to win like 1 in 500 times. I mean, that's, you know, if you play one tournament a week and you're going to win 1 in 500, if you're good, that's 1 in 10 years.
Right.
So buckle up. You're going to have 1 win in 10 years. And is that really what you want to sign up for? I mean, seems pretty rough to me. I'd much rather play online and grind all that out over the course of 2 or 3 weeks.
And that's where it comes down to purpose, right? Because most of us in the recreational poker world, it's not our living, so we're playing for some other reason. And maybe it's to maximize money, so maybe it's just for enjoyment. It's a hobby. So that's where it comes back again to knowing why you're playing. Because some people would say, well, no, I don't care if I win once every 10 years because I'm just going to enjoy the heck out of it. It's time to get out of the house and hang out. And that's a perfectly valid purpose for why you play. But when you want to just win money and maximize your ROI, that might not be the way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you're trying to accomplish, right? So understand, though, that if you are playing very high variance games, that you're not going to have consistent winnings at all, especially when you just don't put in a whole lot of volume. So if you are a live poker player and you want to win substantial money consistently, you either need to play small field tournaments, which in turn will lower your return on investment because you have smaller ROIs and smaller field games, or you need to play cash games. Cash games are a great way to at least put in a decent amount of volume. I mean, whenever I was 21, 22, 23, I would just sit at Bellagio all day, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I'd play 5, 10, and 10, 20, no limit. Made like 30 or 40,000 bucks a month every month, just sitting there grinding out. And I wasn't even all that good at poker. I was just like playing good, well, not nitty. I was playing good, fundamentally sound poker. And
I'm sure you were horrible. Yeah.
And I won like $100 an hour, and I just grinded out my $100 an hour. But if you tell some people you're going to win $100 an hour, a lot of people would say, no, I want to get rich quick. And a lot of people think the goal of poker is to get rich quick, but I always realize the goal of poker is to get a reasonable hourly rate and sit there and grind it out hard, because I have no other skills. I have no degrees. I have no other potential in life besides to get good at poker and grind it out. And you got to treat it like a job. And the nice thing about poker is if you get to where you can win at a good hourly rate, you can put in a ton of hours. So I was putting in 70-hour weeks or 80-hour weeks, no problem. And it wasn't hard because to me, like, live poker is not strenuous. And that was good times. Wish we could go back.
So, yeah, right. So I got a couple other questions. You guys jump in because you know me. I'll just keep grilling them if I'm not interrupted. But so you've got, and you're such a logical person, which is beautiful. I'm curious if there's a way to even ask this question, because I want to get at, like, if you could just do one thing, what would it be? Like, is there a burning passion for any of the things that you do? Obviously, you're good at them all. They make you money. You're helping people, but like, if you had to choose one, the whole desert island thing, right? And all you could do is play online, play live, coach people poker, write books, have the training site. I don't know, all the other things that you do. Like if you had to pick one thing, like is there one that just kind of stands out as, man, that's my sweet spot. When I get to spend time doing that, that's when I feel the best when I go to bed at night? Or is there anything that stands out?
No. I mean, like
I
in
knew you'd
reality,
say that. I was hoping.
I like a change of pace. If you do everything all the time, it's going to be bad. I mean, if you sit there and you play poker all day every day, you're just not going to like it anymore. That's how it goes. I mean, it makes it a whole lot easier if you're winning a pile of money. You like winning money, so it's like, whatever, I'll put up with it. But I like changing things up, and every day looks very different for me. It's not like I wake up and do the same thing every day. I mean, I roughly have the same hours every day, like 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. or 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. I'm in this office working Monday to Friday. Then on the weekends, I hang out with the kids. Morning and nights, I hang out with the kids. So it's the same hours every day, but I'm doing something very, very different every day. And I think that there's a lot of value to that. I mean, that said, if I had to pick one thing, I guess I had to do, it'd probably be running the coaching site, but that's because there are a lot of aspects of the coaching site. And I mean, the nice thing about business in general is very often it's like a positive sum game, whereas poker's a neutral game or maybe a slight losing game for everyone. So the fact that you can add value to the world makes it seem like a better use of time than something that doesn't add value or adds very little value.
So I want to get at that for a second. You tweeted out a week or two ago a quote by Marcus Aurelius about being attached to results versus being attached to the process, let's say. And I wonder, are you interested in Stoic philosophy? Are you interested in Stoicism, or is it just a good quote? Because I think there's a correlation between Stoicism and good poker players.
Yeah, I enjoy Stoicism. I don't necessarily enjoy reading the old texts because they're kind of boring and I don't understand their English very well. But there's a book called Daily Stoic by guy Ryan Holiday, where every day it's just like a passage by some Stoic thought leader or whatnot, and then a paragraph or two about it and how to implement that into your life or make it useful. And that's good. There's another book I like called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, same guy. The good books, like teaches you that you basically focus on what you can control and forget about the other stuff. And there's a lot of other stuff, especially in gambling games like poker, where there's infinite variance.
Yeah, and I think that Daily Stoic also has a good Twitter account that sends out a good tweet every once in a while. But I do think
they send out too many tweets. They send out tweets like 12 times a day. I don't follow them. I can't handle that.
The hourly Stoic.
Yeah. But I do like this idea of sort of like not being attached to things that are beyond your control. That seems like a basic tenet. If you're going to play a lot of poker, you can't get too hung up on getting your aces cracked and that kind of thing. And I find a lot of comfort, especially in today's world, in the Stoic philosophy. So I was very interested in trying that out with you. Do you have a favorite author, or is there something?
No, not really. I think I just like the general basic ideas, and I'm bad with names anyway. So I don't memorize. I have none of the quotes memorized. I don't know any of that stuff. But I mean, like whenever you're playing online, we mentioned this earlier, like I often don't even know when I lose a tournament because it doesn't matter, right? I presume I made the good decision to get it all in with whatever hand I did, or if I make a big bluff. I'm not sitting there like sweating it out, yelling for the guy to fold, because what good does that do? I'm wasting my time. I got these other tables to deal with. And like the other day when I was streaming, and just like the website didn't function properly and lost all the tables, had to go open the client again. It took forever. And then when it popped them up, it just vomited them all over the table. It was a mess, or all over the desktop, right? Had to reorganize them all. And that's normally not so hard if you have two tables, but it's actually a big pain when you have 18 or whatever I had at that point. And like, what can you do? You can't do anything. You can't get mad. You can't get annoyed. You just sit there and you do the best with this crappy spot you're in, and you'll get out of it. Or you won't, whatever, it doesn't matter. Right, exactly. Worst case, you lose some money. Make sure you're playing properly bankrolled. That way, if your computer dies and you can't play poker for the rest of the day, you're only out 2, 3, 4, 5% of your bankroll. You're not out all of your money.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I say that all the time. Well, either it'll work or it won't.
Yeah, it's one of the two.
One of the two. How's that
going to go? Ideally, you want to make sure it's okay either way if it does not work. I mean, I make a lot of projects. Like you all see all this stuff going on that I do. Yeah. And I don't know, half the stuff is not all that great. It just doesn't work. People don't like it, whatever. That's fine. Have a lot of other stuff going on too. And there's another section of stuff that people never see, right? That you tinkered with, you created, and then it probably never came to fruition. I have like this little section on my desktop right over here, like book ideas or, like video concepts or whatever. It's just kind of like sitting there waiting for me to get to it if I feel inclined. maybe I will, maybe I won't, right? And then
Love
when I make YouTube videos, sometimes they get loads of views, sometimes they get almost none. So, good, fine, you learn from it. But then also, like pretty much everything I do, I would be doing it for free otherwise, right? Like you're not paying me to be here. I do it for free because I want to be, right? And I think if you find that your work is something that you would do for free anyway, then you're not really working. It's just having fun. So I basically just get to sit in this room and have fun all day. And
Right.
that's kind of the goal.
Well, we're glad that you had a little fun with us. I mean, we're honored to have a little fun with you. I want to wrap up and honor your time. Speaking of that, but what we've been doing with all of our guests is just giving them a kind of a final opportunity to honor Mike Sexton. I know it's been a little while now since his death, but we haven't had a chance to talk since that happened. So I'm kind of curious if you don't mind kind of reflect and give people a perspective from your view in your interactions of the life and the legacy of Mike.
Well, that's a lot to talk about there.
I know.
Mike Sexton has a book called Life's a Gamble. I have it right here. Make sure you get the book, Life's a Gamble. It's a good book. Go get it on Amazon. It's not too big. It has some pictures of Mike in here. Lots of quotes by fun people. Anyway, check out that. I actually helped make this book happen. So one of my roles at D&B Poker, I'm involved with a poker publishing company, is to generate good content. And for a long time, I've been talking to Mike Sexton. We would go out and have a drink after poker was over or have breakfast the morning before. And he would just always tell great stories. I'm like, Mike, you got to write a book. You got to write a book. And once I sort of took on that role at D&B Poker, they had never done any biographies or anything like that. And there were relatively few poker biographies, and they all did pretty badly because they were all about random people to some extent. I'm like, look, Mike, you just got to do it. You got to do it. You got to write this book. And it's like, all right, fine. So he wrote the book. I helped get it together, and I'm glad they got it done. So anyway, check it out. Life's a Gamble. It's a lot of fun. But no, Mike is great. I mean, a good example of this, we were in Montreal one time playing a party poker tournament, and we were just chatting about what was going on. I don't know how it came up, but I said I had a breakfast the next morning with some of my students at every major tournament series. I try to go out to breakfast with whoever wants to come. I just buy everybody breakfast. It's nice and fun. And he said, oh, I might stop by. And so we showed up at 10:30, and at 11 o'clock, here comes in Mike Sexton, just sits down, has breakfast with the fans, and just a great time. Why not, right? It's he's got to eat somewhere. Same thing. If you might as well show up and eat, have fun, make people's day. And that makes people's lives, to go sit there and have breakfast with Mike Sexton for fun. And he'll tell you all of his fun gambling stories that he put in the book. And it's great. Mike always had time for everyone. He always worked hard to better poker, and people liked him because he added value and made people happy, and lots of doors open for him because people liked him. And he's like my role model to some extent. And the goal is to better poker and better our community. A lot of people out there actively try to stir up nonsense to try to be the center of attention, but the goal is not to be the center of attention. The goal is to make all of us great so that we win at the end of the day, is what it amounts to. And do that by adding value and building up people, as opposed to trying to tear them down or only looking out for yourself.
Love it. Well, we'll wrap up there unless you have any final words of wisdom for Rec Poker Nation. The folks out there, kind of in all kinds of different walks of life, trying to figure out what does poker look like in the future, short-term, long-term, managing their lives, all that kind of stuff, but just trying to get better at the game. And so, the people like you are some of those folks that they turn to and they say, man, I'm glad Jonathan's putting out his stuff because it's helping me get through this really dry season right now where I'm struggling and I'm trying to get better at the game and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of big fans of yours out there. So just want to give you an opportunity to, give any final words of wisdom to the crew before we let you go.
Well, thanks for having me on here again. I appreciate all of you being here. And I would tell people to go to my site, pokercoaching.com/free. You can get a free membership there where you get access to some of the content at pokercoaching.com. You have no reason not to try. It's completely free. Now that we are, ever since COVID happened, we have not been playing so much live poker, right? This is a good time to try to get good at poker by spending the time you normally would have been playing online, either playing or studying. So at my site, we have lots and lots of interactive quizzes. That's basically like you playing a hand, and then you click what you do, raise, call, fold, whatever, like you would do online. And then you get real-time feedback from me or one of the other coaches explaining why they would make a particular play. And we have thousands of these. And it's essentially like you are playing, except for you're getting real-time feedback. And that's like having a private coach, except for just way, 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 way cheaper. And you really should be spending this time where you perhaps cannot play like you like to play in the live arena, getting good. And that means maybe playing small stakes online, studying a lot. Make sure you're not squandering this opportunity because it's a rare one, right? I know a lot of people are out of a job right now. And, that's clearly unfortunate, not ideal. But if you're out of a job, it means you probably have a lot of free time. And if you have a lot of free time, don't spend it watching Netflix and chilling. You need to spend it finding a way to better yourself, whatever that means, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you need to learn another language. Maybe you need to get a degree. Maybe you need to be watching YouTube videos on something topic that's very educational and interesting to you to help you develop another skill, because maybe your whole industry disappeared, right? Or maybe you see your industry disappearing in the future. You need to make sure you're planning ahead for whatever is coming. And you got to sit down and think, what do I want to be accomplishing in life? And if you're not doing it, spend your time now, even if you are busy, spend whatever free time you have getting good at it. Like back when I was a kid, I was going to college, working 2 jobs, but didn't really know what I wanted to do, right? So I spent the little bit of free time I had, an hour or 2 a day, trying to get good at poker. And it's only an hour or 2 a day, right? Everybody can find an hour or 2 per day to devote to you getting better at something. And you might as well get good at poker and sign up to my site, pokercoaching.com/free.
And do it through Jonathan. Yeah. Well, good stuff. Thanks again, as always. We'll be in touch. Love what you got going on, DMB. We've got a partnership with them too. We've got the partnership with you and pokercoaching.com. So just appreciate all you're doing for Rec Poker Nation and poker in general. So one of the great ambassadors of the game, Jonathan. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me. Keep up the great work.
All right, thanks. We will do that. So you can drop off. We'll take care of some housekeeping stuff. But yeah, there he goes, Jonathan Little. Once again, you guys check out pokercoaching.com for all of your poker coaching needs. All right, well, Jim and Jamel, there he goes. What do you think?
Yeah, he's great. And before I forget, you can go to rec.poker/resources, and there's a link to pokercoaching.com right from there. They're one of our favorite training sites, and we've got a good relationship with them. So tell them that we sent them when you come and go visit.
Yeah, love that. Yeah. Do us a solid too. Yeah, go ahead.
So down to earth and has a lot of practical advice all around, not just poker.
Yeah, I'm always struck so much by his logicalness. Like, there's a lot of people that are very logical, but he and there's a couple other guests we've had on that are just so logical to the core. Like, I'm even trying to get, trying to mine a little bit to try to get to the heart, get to the passion. And I know it's there, but he's just so logical and how he approaches things. Oh, I just like this.
And like unapologetically so. It's nice, right? Like he doesn't have anything to prove. He knows, he feels comfortable with his priorities and he's thought about it. And he's, I think he said it best. Not everyone's good at different things. He's got it set up where he's doing what he's good at. He loves it. He's helping people. I mean, that's a recipe for success right there.
Yeah, and I don't know if he was just being humble, but I don't think. Did you guys feel the same way that I feel like not everybody's as helpful as him?
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of very smart poker players, and even ones that have training stuff and videos that aren't as focused on helping others.
Yeah, and Jonathan's really generous with his time. He's really generous with his time through his site. He's really generous with his time on Twitter. Ryan LaPlante is another person like that. I feel like where they're just, you can tell they really enjoy it. They're passionate about helping people and they're doing what they love. And so like, hey, when you're doing what you love, you never work a day, right?
Mm-hmm. That is true. Well, anything else about
Jamel, can you lean in a little bit? Do I see a Rec Poker pin on the hat there? Is that a bronze pin from your monthly tournament win?
Yeah, not as cool as your silver pin. But.
Ooh, yeah, no, that one does look good, doesn't it? But there's a bronze one over here. I like we're rocking the hat pins. That's great. I believe Jamel is also the current Player of the Year points leader.
That's right.
We'll see if that holds after next week.
Yeah.
What do we have? We have 2. Yeah,
2 to go.
2 to go. Wow.
Yep.
That's sweet, dude. Congrats. Well, we'll see. And, we just started talking about, it's sort of an announcement. We just started talking about, we're going to have like a Rec Poker Awards program sometime in January, probably late January, tentatively like the 27th, kind of hold the date kind of thing. But we want to do an award show. We all kind of get together on Zoom and we'll do some of the stuff based on tournament results and then a few other things. We're just going to have a lot of fun with it. So kind of save the date, but hopefully we're announcing Jamel as the Player of the Year. That'd be pretty fun.
That's right. He's the front runner right now.
He's leader in the clubhouse. Let's go. Well, guys, anything? I don't. Jim, did you have the home game stuff?
Yeah.
Covered at all, or do you want to?
when we do this early recording schedule, the one and only John Somsky can't make it, so I'll just run us through here. In the International Series on October 24th, Trond Vidar Stensby, Oslo Borger, got his 4th nightly. He is tearing it up in there in the
Fourth
early
international
game too.
Yeah.
The international one. And Evil Roy, who his name is redacted, but I happen to know is also an international player, so nicely done, sir. And then on the 19th, Mile High Magic Man, David Phillips, won his 4th. On the 20th, Gloves 10-10, Colin Anderson, one of the good guys, won his 6th. Nicely done, Colin. You're racking them up.
Beast.
Poker Geek himself, Poker Geek MN, John Somsky pulled in his 4th. Elvis 76, Steve Krebs, good to see him winning his 3rd. Ilsfish, I don't know who that is, but on October 21st, they won their 1st nightly. Congratulations, sir or madam. And then the rare back-to-back, Jacob Keek, who is killing it in the home games, won his 6th and 7th on back-to-back nights. And even got to crow about it a little on Twitter because it was making him feel good. So good for you, Jacob. Way to go, man.
Well,
that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen very often.
And I don't know, especially now. I mean, I think it happened a couple of times when we had like the 25, 30-person fields, but now we're at the 60-plus fields every night. That's a pretty big accomplishment. I think it's a pretty tough game, too. And I don't know, because he hasn't played the whole time, right? He's only been around for a few months, I think. I don't think he's been around all year. And he's crushing it.
He's killing it.
Yeah. Jamel, what's our secret against him? How do we beat Jacob? What's the deal? Keck Geek.
Yeah, that's right.
I have no idea. I just flop flushes that work for me.
Flop flushes. Yeah.
Flushes and get paid.
Jamel was telling me that was his key. That was his key to the game, was just flopping a lot of flushes. That'll see you through.
It's a good result. But yeah, a lot of really good players. It is fun. The international series, we moved to Saturdays. We run them at 5 a.m. and at noon Central Time. Here in Minnesota, so that's Central Time. We're looking at maybe tweaking it a little bit, but we moved it from Friday to Saturday, kind of always tweaking. Americans, feel free to tell us what works for you, but really this is geared toward the international players. Like Tron said, maybe that noon one could be an hour or two later, get past dinner. So we're still tweaking all those things, but we want input. If you are an international player, and I guess we'll count Canada kind of, but really, overseas, if you're, Europe, Australia, we have players. If you're overseas and you want to play these home games, let us know what would be a good time, because then we can adjust and really try to cater to your schedule, because we love seeing all the different flags popping up there. That's super fun for us. So anything else with the home games, Jim, that you wanted to share?
I think that's it for the home games. Now, you can still, if you win the November or December monthly games, you still get your ticket to the end of year finals to get a chance to be crowned the champion. So we do take all the unique monthly winners from all of 2020, and then the top ranking player of the year candidates according to how many spots are left. We go down to 18. So even if it's too late to win the player of the year, you can still win the tournament in November or in December, get your seat in the championship.
Yeah, I think I kind of messed up my approach to some of that strategically as far as earning points for that. So yeah, we'll have that end of year player, like if you want to tournament a champion, and then some wild card spots to the last 18, I think is how that one works. And then there's going to be another year-end tournament that's like, if you won anything all year, we're going to dump you into another tournament there. So all kinds of fun stuff as we get closer to the end of the year. It's going to be fun to watch some of those races. And then the mixed game one, that's kind of a different one because there's no year-end tournament. It's just strictly points. All of this stuff, you go to rec.poker/home game, like all the stats, everything's out there. Somsky's got all of this stuff out there. If you're kind of a nerd like I am for data and seeing standings and all that stuff, get out there and check it out. It's really kind of fun to peruse the names and see how many times they've played and how many points they have. And it's kind of depressing sometimes too.
Yeah, some of us nerds will even print it off and start working on it so that we can see, am I going to make it? How many points leaders are ahead of me before I can make the championship?
I didn't see a highlighter there or anything, like the red highlighter for who you're going to knock out. Go after. We're gonna put bounties on.
Very seriously. We take competition very seriously in the Reed household here.
I will say, I don't think we brought this up. Like, it doesn't really matter to anybody except me. But like, I did get my opportunity to slow roll Taylor back, so I've sort of settled that score. I had the nut flush against him, and he shoved against me on the river. I had the absolute nuts, and I just tanked. And he's like, said I was already typing good game. As soon as you started tanking, I knew you had the goods. So I got him back. Andrew still owes him a slow roll.
All right.
But I didn't have the heart to take it all the way down. Like I'm like, I don't want to waste everybody's time. But it was funny. Well, good stuff.
Speaking of Taylor, so the one new feature that we are unrolling in November is visiting the rec room, hanging out in the rec room. So this is something, it's just for premium members, but we've got this wrecking crew where some of the wizards from the podcast crew and some other excellent poker thinkers from the poker world are members of the wrecking crew. You can come and talk to them about poker problems. You can purchase hours from them in the store, or you can get them to look at your Poker Tracker 4 database and stuff like that. So one of the things we're doing is once a month, a premium member will submit a hand to one of the wreckers on the wrecking crew. And they'll have a little one-on-one session where they just break down that hand, however that coach wants to go through it, whether it's analyzing it in Poker Tracker 4, going by street through it with you, playing in a replayer, talking about the concepts, whatever it is that member and that wrecker want to get to. And it's sort of like a free coaching session. So once a month, premium members, you can either post it in the forums, or you can just email me, jim@rec.poker, with the hand and who you want to go over it with, and we'll make it happen. We record that session, and then we send it out to our members as part of our monthly video cycle. So come join us, hang out in the wrecking room with us, and break down a hand with one of our wrecking crew wreckers.
It's so cool. I mean, and the thing is, if you're already a member, hopefully you know of all the stuff that's out there. If you don't know, if you want a tour of everything, let us know, because there's so much out there. If you're not a member, really encourage you guys, take a look at this thing. You can use the code RECPOKER, and you don't sign any long-term contract. Like, you can get the first month for $5. So it's $15 a month. Use the code RECPOKER. $5 gets you a month. And just check it all out. Like, there's so much out there. Just the archives. I mean, we already got hundreds of videos of different training things. And, we talk about this. We don't expect everybody to do everything, but there's so many things to choose from. You can certainly find your niche. If, like, the wrecking room sounds good, man, go do that. If it's like, I just want to participate in the book studies, go do that. Just want to be part of the podcast, like Jamel jumped on here, sit in on the podcast, you can do that. Like, there's so many really cool things. And, I think I'm really bad at self-promotion and that, so I don't know, not always out there tooting the horn, but I think the people that have been involved are like, man, this is fantastic value, both in terms of opportunities and content. So check it out. Really encourage you. If you want a personal tour, we'd be happy to do that and kind of walk through the website with you and let you know what's out there. But we're pretty proud of it and would love to have you jump in there and take a look. And then one other thing about the home games too, I mentioned this right at the beginning, but wanted to spend a little bit more time too, is we are transitioning from, right now the home games are open to everybody. Anybody can jump in there, doesn't matter what your connection is, and that's been great for building it. One of the things that we found is it's pretty difficult to actually communicate with the winners about getting them bronze pins. It's nice to be able to announce them on the podcast, even though you can keep your name private. But it's more difficult to manage that when it's just sort of a free-for-all. And so we're doing a couple of things. First of all, is if you want to join the club, if you're already a member, you don't need to meet this November 1st deadline. But if you want to jump in the club, now you're going to have to be a free member out at Rec.Poker. So we're not going to make you pay anything. It's still free. But you become a free member out there, and then you put your PokerStars username in your profile. And then when you apply for the club, if we have your PokerStars username in there, we say, yep, good to go. We approve you. No questions asked. Let's go. One thing that's going to happen, I believe, January 1st, is that we're going to require everybody who's an existing club member to do the same thing on their RecPoker profile. So again, you don't need to pay, but starting January 1st, we're going to start suspending people who don't have their username in their RecPoker community profile. And again, it's just from a management perspective. Part of this is because, our goal is not to just put out free home games. Like, that's not the goal. That's a tool. Our goal is to build community. And if we don't know who each other are, if we can't celebrate with it, if we can't give each other grief a little bit and kind of DM each other, if we see somebody win, go into the RecPoker community and DM them and say, way to go, then we're not getting community. And so our goal is community. I'll keep pounding this. So again, our goal is not to build a great big home game. Our goal is to build a home game where we have community, which is why you guys know, I mean, we'll kick people out. If they're berating people on the chat, which we haven't had very often, but it does happen time to time, they're just gone. because our goal is community. So starting January 1st, make sure you have a free Rec Poker community membership. Make sure your pass name, or whatever you call it, your PokerStars username is in your profile, and then you can continue playing after January 1st. Otherwise, we probably will suspend you. It's not personal. It's just for the sake of community. That's what we're going to do. So
it might be personal if it happens to a bunch of Canadians. I don't know. I'm not saying, I'm not like, we'll just see if it's personal. We'll see. Steve.
Yeah, you guys have another loophole. We're not going to actually tell you that you have to jump through. And sorry, you're all suspended at least for 2 months till we get a running start. Yeah. So sorry, I went a little bit of a soapbox there, but I want you guys to understand kind of the rationale behind it. It's not a control thing. It's just we are so laser focused on our vision of building a positive, a vibrant, and encouraging poker learning community that everything we do is centered around that. That's why we do book clubs. That's why we do the Wrecking Crew. That's why we do the Rec Room. That's why we do the home games. It's all about building community. So, we want you to build relationships and find people to connect with and just have a blast learning and playing this game. So I'll step off the soapbox, but it was just a simple announcement about November 1st, and I turned it into a big mission statement. But
if you're not going to do it for Steve, do it for the great John Somsky, who can't be here today. But make John John Somsky's life easier and
right.
Fill out your profile field.
Yeah, he's less soapboxy than I am, for sure. All right, guys. Well, anything else we want to share? Anything else that we should be announcing, bringing up, whatever? We're all good. All right. Well, with that, I can't find my closing information, but at the end of the day, we are sponsored by Q Music, Running Aces, Racetrack, Casino, and Hotel. We're sponsored by Learn Pro Poker. We're sponsored by Website Amp. Jonathan Little, great friend of the show. He's been on several times. Thank you to him. Jamel, thanks for joining us. It was fun to have you on here. Jim Reed, of course, amazing dude. We'll see you guys all next time. Take care.